Welcome to Britain's Deadliest Doormen. Today, London versus the Midlands. Smash the likes, let's get started. First up, Lee Morrison versus Jeff Thompson. Lee began martial arts at 11, coming from a difficult family background. He joined street gangs and became involved in criminality around South East London. He also became involved in the football scene, but is very quiet about his past. What we do know is he began working the doors, using them as a live testing environment to practice different martial art techniques he was learning. Founder of Urban Combative, Lee Morrison is now one of the leading gurus of self-defense and combat training.
Right. So from here I'm up here, grab.
Jeff Thompson. Thompson became a world-renowned martial artist specialising in reality, martial arts and self-defense, based on his experience at the nightclub Door, and co-founded the British Combat Association with Peter Considine. Thompson became famous at self-defense as a self-defense instructor, and in particular for his concept of the fence. He taught seminars in the US for Chuck Norris, is now a celebrated author, and has to be on the Midlands list representing Coventry. Two, Dean White versus Barrington Patterson. Dean White, formerly Dean Urquhart, was a very dangerous man in his former street life past. He spent lengthy periods in prison for crimes including shootings, and also worked the doors in South London with close friend, more like brothers, Dillian White. A huge man with a good level of combat experience in boxing and kickboxing, plus very experienced street fighter, makes him a cert for the London list in boxing and business on the straight life now. Barrington Patterson, One-Eyed Baz, R.I.P., was a world-class kickboxer, football hooligan with the Birmingham Zulus, and an elite doorman in Birmingham and Coventry. A great man who, although blind in one eye, did not let that set him back. Baz was much loved on the fight circuit, football scene, and of course by family and friends. A very tough man and professional fighter, and a shoe-in to represent Birmingham for the Midlands team.
Still must be careful there because Patterson has these strong punches, as many have already found.
3. Michael Ruane, better known as Giant Haystacks, versus Stoke-on-Trent's Eddie Hall. Michael Ruane, better known for his ring name Giant Haystacks, is a left field pick. From South East London, standing 6'11", that was his build height. I think it may have been around about 6'8", but that's what they say. And weighing not far off 30 to 40 stone at some points in his career. He's got to go on the list. In his early days, Michael was a labourer and a doorman, and as you can imagine, not many people would have fancied their chances. A powerhouse, and although very overweight in later years, he was still a formidable man, and definitely up there for London. Eddie Hall. Eddie Hall is an absolute legend from Stoke-on-Trent. He's best known by people on the outside as the world's strongest man. But a proud Stokey from Newcastle-under-Lyme, Eddie is a legend in his home city for his achievements. But before becoming renowned on the strongman circuit, he was well known on the door scene in the West Midlands city. Stoke and its 5 towns is a tough working class city, and back in the 2000s, when Eddie started working the door at 16, he was already a massive lump. Olympic trialist swimmer, naturally athletic. As soon as he took up the weight, he stacked on muscle quickly. Himself and brothers, all big lads, once got into a fight with police outside a club and made short work of them, slinging them around like tossed solids. As a doorman, he went from a teenage bouncer to his own security boss. Make no mistake, Eddie can seriously handle himself, and now he's dedicated his training to fighting. I think he's training for MMA now. Has to be on the list, representing Stoke-on-Trent. 4. Alan Crossley versus Decker Simpkin. Alan Crossley, a living legend from Belfast, but goes on the London list for his association with Lenny McLean and the lot of work he put in on the doors in the capital city. A man that even Lenny McLean wouldn't mess with. Alan was both very, very strong and a good fighter, so has to be there representing the London firm. Decker Simpkin, the Derbyshire tough man, bare knuckle fighter and bouncer, is a legend around Derbyshire, and his experience in over 20 years on the door and in bare knuckle fights makes him a big yes for the Midlands team. 4. Mickey Theo versus John Awesome Anderson. Mickey Theo was Lenny's good friend and a powerhouse, big into his weights. Not the tallest, but huge, strong as an ox, and another respected veteran of the doors from London's underbelly. So he has to be there on the list. If he's good enough for Lenny, he's good enough for this list. John Awesome Anderson, another legend from Coventry, who was Jeff Thompson, who was also on the list, mentor when he first started working the doors. In Jeff Thompson's excellent book, Watch My Back, he mentions John a lot in there. Cool as a cucumber, very athletic, and dangerous as you like with his hands. Took out many of the top men in Coventry who came causing trouble. So John has to be on there. Another one representing Coventry. Lenny McLean versus Chris Pyatt from Leicester. Lenny McLean, a living legend. Lenny was classed as the hardest man in London and king of the bouncers for a reason. If a man was built for doors and fighting on the street and bare knuckle and all that type of thing, it was Lenny McLean. Clearly, when he was younger, I think around about 16 stone, he was faster. You saw the punches against Roy Shaw. I think that was in the second fight. Absolutely destroying Roy Shaw in that fight. As he got older, he was on the roids and different things. I don't think there's any secret about that. And he stacked up to a massive weights, 20 stone plus, and could really still have speed in his hands, etc. Went through a lot of adversity, but came out the other side, started becoming a film star before his tragic death. Has to be on the list. Chris Pyatt, pro boxer from Leicester, who also worked the doors in Leicester. Middleweight and hard punching, with 33 knockouts in 46 bouts. In the 90s, he fought and beat Kevin Kelly for the Commonwealth middleweight title. Kevin Kelly was from Australia, but lost to the great Steve Collins in a world title effort. Very tough guy on the door, and he's got to be a representative for Leicester on these Midland picks. So there you have it, part 1. Britain's Deadliest Doormen, London versus the Midlands. Those are the 6, not 5, I made a mistake in the video, the 6 different picks. How it works from this point forward, there was a lot of debate over the first video I did, Liverpool versus Manchester. Liverpool won that one. It's not about who's deadliest, that's just the name of the playlist. It is who I would pick out of those different matchups for my personal door team, fantasy door team. Okay, same for you guys. So from today, first matchup, Lee Morrison, Jeff Thompson. I've got to go Lee Morrison. Love Jeff, amazing. He was the mentor to Lee Morrison, but as time moves on, these top combat experts, they evolve the fighting techniques and everything. So I go for Lee Morrison, number 1. So that's 1 to London. 2, Dean White, Barrington Patterson. Barrington Patterson all day long. Higher level fighter. Got lots of combat experience on the streets. I go Barrington Patterson. 1 each. Michael Wayne versus Eddie Hall. Giant haystacks. Eddie Hall all day long. Physically stronger, fitter, better fighter. So that's 2-1. Midlands. Alan Crosley, Decker Simpkin. Alan Crosley, British strongest man, but can have a right row. Well respected by Lenny McLean and all the door people in London. Decker Simpkin's supposed to be nails, but I've not seen that much footage of him. I'd have to go with Alan Crosley. 2 each. Mickey Theo, John Awesome Anderson. Mickey Theo, top doorman, strong, can have it in the ring as well. So it's a tough one, but I've got to go John Awesome Anderson on this one. John Anderson, an elite doorman. He does all the different training, the combat skills, everything else. I just think, for me, it would be John Anderson. Lenny McLean, Chris Pyatt. Final one. King of the Bouncers, Lenny McLean versus a high-level boxer, Commonwealth champion, big knockout power. But I'd have to go for the King of the Bouncers, Lenny McLean, for me. So we're all square. going into the next episode. So I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know in the comments your thoughts and who potentially you think should be on the next part of the Midlands versus London to decide who goes through with Liverpool.